it's on the agenda.
Well,
Well,
you can't do that
you
because
can't
you
do
only
that.
have one public input.
If we had two, you could do it that way, but we only have
According to
one.
the rule.
Does anybody like to speak at public input? Your name and your address, and then have at it.
Keith Sauer, 115 East River Road. The homeowners on my road were in need of city water. It runs on 8 mile and 7 mile. It never ran down River Road. The well water is undrinkable. So it passes inspection, but I would let the people that signed that they'd be interested in hooking up to city water if it was available to them. And that's all. I don't know how to get that on the agenda or if that's a possibility, but just to propose it. Thank you.
Brad Eddy, 1890 South Huron Road. I'd like to express my condolences for Richard Sabias. He was one heck of a gentleman and just a great friend, I can honestly say that. To anybody who knew him, he was a very good man. The FOIA that was talked about in regards to the 4 deeds. Sam, I heard you talk about 8 years. Well, 9 years ago, me and my wife went to purchase Eddy Brothers. And Eddy Brothers collects all the water from what would be M13 to Schmidt Road. All the water comes off of the highway. It has to go through those 4 deeds that the township of Caucalan owns. The old Seidler Road. There's some culverts on Old Seidler Road. They're deteriorated, some are crushed. Now that I've seen this FOIA produced for deeds township property, I have taken this to the road commission, and they said that it is township property. It's the township's responsibility to replace those culverts. It is nobody else's. It's your property. So I've been dealing with water problems for 9 years, and I've been coming to this township for 9 years explaining this, and I think the only board member who's been here that long is Melissa. So she's heard it all, the flooding. My house, my grandparents' house, had 0 sump pumps when, for, let's say, 120 years. And now it's got 2. You guys know what it's like hearing burn, burn, burn all the time? Because Sam's friends blocked my water. I think it's a very sick situation when you have a supervisor who don't take people's complaints into consideration. We don't ask for the water to come from R&W. It naturally goes that way. We're asking for the water to naturally go that way and for the township to enforce their ordinance, which you cannot pond upon another person's property. It's been 9 years. It was Dennis, now it's you, Sam. I mean, I want to see people being treated equally in this township, and that's why I'm running for supervisor, to take your job.
Good.
Anybody else?
Second that motion.
Lisa Yerk, 2892 Mile Road. I just wanted to put into correspondence the emails regarding the 18 boxes. I appreciate that you sent it to me. You did forward Mike's email, but there was nothing attached. So there wasn't the paper that Greg supposedly signed to have the 11 boxes destroyed. There's no board minutes where the board agreed to destroy those 11 boxes. There's no packing slip that apparently Mike references below. So I just want these put into correspondence. I mean, all the board members have already received these emails because you're all on it.
Anybody else?
Amanda Noonan. We live at 2185 South Huron Road. We're having issues for about a year and a half with a billboard next door with their light shining into our property, and there's still been nothing done about that. And we've made several complaints. The ordinance states that it cannot be lit if it's 150 foot or less the house, and it's definitely less than 150 foot away from our house, and nothing's being done to get it turned off.
What's the crossroad you got?
Jose, we're right by the concrete step guy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, his is right shining into our house at nighttime.
So you're the first one to the north with the big barn. Okay.
So my husband's been in several times to complain about it, but nothing's happening.
First time I heard.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry, could I have your name again? I was
Amanda.
just- Thank you,
Yep.
thank you.
Anybody else?
If I had any time left, the elite sign across the road, what's getting done with that?
Well, we have, well, this isn't a question and answer period.
Well, I'll tell you what the DOT told me. They said that they called you and they're waiting for the answer because they said it's illegal. Don Hundley,
Hey,
he said he's called you. He said this is your supervisor not doing his job. So there is communications there, Sam.
okay.
And under public comment, I'm Charles Campbell, and I live at 525 South Huron. And I did leave a note of, between all the items along M13, I'm grateful the trailer got moved, but the trailer was one of numerous issues. And the elite sign is one of them, the vehicle up on the corner that's been abandoned there for several years now, no plating on it. And people that own the property have said help them, but nothing has happened. Citations are not written, and something has to happen, because this is just outright ridiculous. 465 is just as bad as it was before, with numerous cars stacked up, not one of them with a plate on them, and junk from tip to top of the parcel. Last time we cleaned up cost us thousands of dollars. Shouldn't we deal with it before it costs us thousands of dollars again? And so that's just a few of my questions. You can go up and down M13. I was told we're not allowed to have shipping containers. All of a sudden, we got shipping containers all along M13. If they're not allowed, then you send out a notice, I would think. Because once you send the notice, then they're on notice. And if it doesn't get fixed in the next 15 days, then you give them a 30-day notice and you get it off the property. But no, they sit there, and they sit there for a year. I was told, actually, that there are some on one parcel, and they would be moved once they completed the addition to their building, and their addition to their building is completed behind it, and they're still all just sitting there. So I don't have a problem with progress, but it needs to be the same progress for every property owner and every business. Because if we're going to run multiple sets of books, then someone has to be held accountable. And we, as a township, this has fallen short. You have to drive down Slum Alley to get to your house, and that's uncalled for.
Anybody else?
My name is Tom Ciaciuch. I live at 2218 7 Mile Road. I've lived here for a little over 40 years, and one of the things I always loved about Cucullin is we live and let live. We don't pick on our neighbors. Seems like we're just trying to be mean to everybody, and I don't really get it. The trailer that was parked there, it was titled as a recreational vehicle. The township didn't have any grounds to say anything about that. It was an RV. But by God, we're all up in arms. It was a park model, which means anything under 450 square feet can be parked and sold anywhere. No different than a used car. We've only got 5,000 people here. We're all neighbors. Let's try to get along with each other. Let's just understand that everybody's just trying to do their thing. I would think if someone moved a container in to to move or to put stuff in where they're remodeling, that we could give them a permit for it. Maybe we
That
could
would
find
make
a way-
sense, Tom.
Maybe we could
That
address
would
some of that
make
stuff.
sense.
Not just send out, let's send them a thing in 30 days, by God, we're gonna give them a rough time. Let's try to take a little more Christian way to forgive, give a little grace, and work with each other. These are our neighbors we're talking about.
Correct.
Yeah, there's people that, hey, one of the reasons I moved to Cucaulin, I wanted to be able to work in my four-wheel drive out in the yard.
Yep.
And my neighbors, the Juskies, by God, they like that too, so it all worked out. But we've gotta use some common sense on this. We have been everything from mobile home people to farmers to junkyard people. There's a place for every one of us here in Cucaulin. It doesn't have to be, we need to get rid of this guy or we need to get rid of that guy. Let's work with each other. All I got to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to unfinished business. The first thing is, apparently last month we talked about the water on South Linwood Beach, and we needed more clarification. A week ago Monday, we had a meeting at the Township Hall, and on the agenda today is the bid from Spicer Group to draw up the drainage for South Linwood Beach Road from Bowtel to the end. And that would, when this is drawing, then we'll know where the drain has to go, whether it's on the road, whether it's next to the road, if we need easements, if we need, whatever we need for it.
Well, in light of that town hall, and then in light of this contract surfacing dated February 1st, which we were not privy to last month, and the amount of money being $43,000 and not $47,000, I would make a motion that we get this work accomplished then. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Is it exactly 43,000?
43,000.
DeShano?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Davison?
Yes?
Cruz?
Yes.
Class?
Yes.
So also under unfinished business, apparently our postage meter has given us, here at the township, a lot of problems. And the company we're dealing with, even though it basically sprawls red ink all over the place, has just sent us more cartridges, and it's time we had a new postage meter. So I have Molly here because apparently we needed her to explain what these three bids was, and I'd like her to give us her opinion on which one she thinks we ought to consider.
Well, the current lease with Quadient ends on 6/17, and that meter actually falls out compliant with the USPS at the end of June. So it is time to get a new meter. So I contacted 3 different companies, and reading reviews online, it sounds like nobody's happy with their postage meter suppliers. But the Tom from AB Equipment, we've actually had 2 references, good references from local companies that have used him. He's in the state. His meter is a little bit more expensive than the others, but the ink lasts. Like I said, his ink cartridge, 12,000 impressions versus some of the others that are 1,900 and 1,400. And they're all roughly $100 per cartridge. So with that one, that cartridge is going to last us a lot longer. So my opinion would be to go with the AB Equipment for the lower rate of $52.90 5 for that meter. It would suit our purposes very well.
So the 5295 is a lease agreement?
Yes. And I've talked to a couple people at the company. If there's an issue, you know, they're here within a couple days to service the machine, not just blindly sending a cartridge saying, this will fix it.
I'd make a
No,
motion.
hold on. So, I know this is kind of a weird question, and I don't know what the counter even works on the machine that you have. But I know that we outsource a lot of our mailing, all of the tax assessments, all of the tax bills, those are all outsourced and we pay for that. So I know that there's other things you guys send out, but I'm just-
Mostly election materials.
Okay, so any idea on average? I know it's hard to average.
Yeah, I
because of
mean, like, you know,
election.
during the election, we're probably sending, you know, close to 500 ballots out.
Okay,
On a weekly basis, we have to send out ID cards. That's maybe a dozen of those every week. And, you know, the monthly basis, you know.
so there's certain, I know it's hard to
Yeah.
judge, but I was just kind of curious, since we outsource so much, what kind of usage we have with any of those impressions, so. Yeah.
It would last a lot. It would last a lot.
I kind of thought it would,
Yeah.
but I wanted to make sure.
I'll go back to starting my motion. For automated business equipment. Now, one says 5295, one says 6795. What's the difference, Molly?
The other one has a higher output. You can run.
But we don't need
We
that.
don't need that, yeah.
So my motion would be for the 5295 unit, which would
Just
be
right here at the top.
known as S3 system. Because I'm not going to try to say that. 'Cause
That looks Italian.
Yeah.
I'll just,
It's the S3 version of Visions.
Vision S3 system.
Yeah.
And we'll go more, well, down here it puts it, post-base Vision S3 purchase. It's a $3,500 piece of equipment with $300 annual maintenance per year, $24 per month. Then it says monthly rental rates of $52.95. The supplies are inkjets at $140 and labels $1,000 are $30. So that's my motion. That's what we would get. We would like to second that.
I'll second that. Campbell,
Yes.
Davidson,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Glass.
Yes.
DeShano.
Yes.
All right, so now we have the 2024-08 appeal that was tabled to talk about this month, so we're gonna need,
Okay,
That's right here.
we're gonna need copies of that.
So this was the one that was asking for the communications between Justin and any elected, appointed.
Wait, this is the thing. Okay, there we go. This is the one.
So do we know whether we've answered these or not?
That I do finally have the information from everybody. I told Brad today that I'm ready to put it all together and figure it out now. But I just got the rest of what I needed on Thursday afternoon. So that one should be ready to go.
So can we call it has info?
Data's collected. So the data's all collected, now you'll be able to summarize it and get it.
As much as I could, as much as I
Okay.
could collect.
Perfect.
Do you want a separate motion on each one of these? Do we need a separate motion on each one of these?
I would address it individually, yeah.
I just put it that the data has been, I'll make a motion, data is collected as of 5/13/24. Sherry will summarize and get to Eddie.
I'll second. And that's
Is that
on,
roll?
yeah, I'll second it, and that's on 2024-08.
So that's roll.
And well, I do it wrong. Yep,
Davidson,
yes,
Cruz,
Yes.
Glass,
Yes.
DeShano,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes. The next one is,
it's 2024-18. It's gotta be this one.
That one has to do with the deeds on the Seidler Road property that went through equalization, those 4 deeds. So the specific motion says that the deeds need to be presented because no board members received a copy of those deeds either. And also that there needed to be some type of a response from our assessor, Joan Fackler, because she never answered. As our assessor, she never answered. She never gave any information on that whatsoever. And that obviously is,
The deeds were delivered to Mr. Eddy.
they were not delivered to the board members,
Well, I
though.
can get you copies of those.
I would like that.
And the-
as well.
so deeds.
I believe that Joan's answer is that I don't have an answer, but I'll give you her email,
Okay,
her emails.
for
that go
email
with that.
response.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the motion would read that you will give copies of the deeds to the board members and Joan's answer.
Mhm.
So I move that motion.
I'll second it.
Can I
Cruz,
just email those to you?
That'd be fine. Yeah.
Bruce.
Yes.
Glass,
Yes.
DeShano,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes?
Guess I was worried about answering the FOIA and forgot that I was supposed to be out of town.
E is 2024-10.
So that actually stated in the motion that research would continue for the next 2 weeks, and if at that time no information can be found, then the contact would happen with Mrs. Paget.
We tried to recreate all of the documents that were given to Pat that day. Apparently Brad says we didn't get all of them. I mean, I'm
No,
not sure.
I'm just saying Pat has the originals from Claire Paget when he applied for the zoning change, the rezoning, and you don't have those documents. You never provided them.
Rezoning to what?
The rezoning of their property to C3, where Claire Paget Seawalls is. She has those documents, originals, in her safe, and the township could not produce them. So she does have.
Probably she was given the originals and nobody kept a copy of them.
So
I'm
what,
just guessing, I mean, that's way before my time,
I'm
but,
just telling you that,
Yep.
I think that, it's in her trust,
okay.
so I think that it's important to get those copies.
Right, to
you
have
know,
them on our
'cause
files.
she warranted those in her trust.
Okay,
And I did share that you gave me, that information.
as much as I possibly
It
can
wasn't
find
the same
everywhere.
information that Melissa gave her when she was in the office here. The maps and stuff,
I called her and she texted me the page numbers that I gave her.
so I'm just sharing with you that.
so we need to get the deeds, or the documentation where that she went from country home to C3, is what you're asking for, what we need in this.
That's what's missing is how it went from there to there to industrial. You said that you were going to Wade Trim with how it went to industrial.
Well, they are looking in Colorado where all the papers are.
Wow.
So I have not got an answer. I will check with Wade Trim.
Vaults everywhere.
So 3 to L1.
So I think this should be a carryover of Joan.
No, we can make a motion just to contact Pat and get the
Secure those
information.
documents. could bring them in. and give
I'll
us
make a motion to
copy.
contact Pat and get the information. She's only gonna have the one